And yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. How did you get into like pushing yourself to learn? Because obviously, to learn 12 languages, to you know go out and speak how you speak, to do TED talks, do all this stuff, you had to tell yourself something about, you know what, I want to grow. I get to grow in
Mhm.
my life. I get to do what I want to do. I get to build my life. What what drove you, and how did you have to frame your mindset to be able to create those results?
I have to make a confession here. I didn't choose to. I'm cursed with laziness and the complete inability to do something that doesn't excite me. So, and that's from school. Like my teachers from, if I loved the topic that was taught, I was the teacher's favorite student because I would spend hours and hours doing this during the class, in between. But if I was not interested, you could not make me move an inch, nothing, because I'm not interested, I'm not moving. So if you're asking me what motivated me, it's just that if I don't have that drive, I'm not going to do it. I had a job in IT. I used to be a coding. A year and a half, I probably did a week and a half worth of work in a year and a half because I was not interested. So it's a curse. It's a curse, but I'm using it as a superpower to say, then what does drive me? What does drive me? So with languages, it was like the connection. It was connecting with people, discovering, learning. I'm obsessed with learning how humans work. And I'm fascinated by the interconnection, the relationship, how people relate to each other. And then it evolved like from speaking from the stage, like it's this idea of how can I communicate an idea to a variety of people? Because one-on-one is one thing, you adapt, you move, but now you have 100 people in a room, 1,000 people in a room. You have to find a very universal language that resonate with most of the people in the room. And that is an obsession I had. And now I'm even more obsessed about, because in my journey, I started teaching languages, but I felt like this is not enough. I'm not solving the biggest problem. This is frustrating. And I'm obsessed with always solving the biggest problem I can solve for people. And now it is, how do I make people have the best life possible? Let's put it simply. And I'm obsessed with solving, because I'll simplify. I'm obsessed by seeing people smile with their eyes, because otherwise I'm kind of bored. And when people have this excitement, this passion, and they're shining, they're beaming, now I'm like, yes, I'm alive. So every time this is not the case, I find myself obsessed with making it happen. Does that make sense?
So I absolutely love that. I was looking through your Instagram and I saw your face, one of your pictures, and it was like glowing. I was like, wow, the joy, the belief and the mindset it takes to be able to, I call it like heaven on earth, like the mindset.
Yes.
Because most people live in their ego versus with their higher self, spirit, whatever you want to call that. Were you always that way, or did you find, was there a point where you found and you saw like, wow, this is how I show up?
I think I was always that way unconsciously, and it's recent that it has become a conscious process. So I remember as a child hearing many compliments about my smile, and like it might sound shallow, but it was actually very profound. I think the smile, a real smile, is one of the most profound expression of well-being, of joy, and it's contagious. When someone really smiles, it makes other people smile. So, and what else in life do you want but smiling? If your whole life you spent smiling, can you really say that something went wrong? I don't think so. So this smile has become something of choice, something that there's a word, that's something I curate in my life. And it doesn't mean that I smile all the time. I'm not smiling all the time. I do have down times. And I think the more you're going for these big smiles, the more you have down times, because, and in the conscious process of really making my life about this joy that I want to pass on to people, is I have to be very aware of when I'm not feeling it. And then identify what is causing me to feel off. And I teach this process, which I teach my client, is just like to develop a strong on-off sensor. And by on-off, I mean, it's all transforming your life, not all the time, but like if you want to grow, you make it binary. Am I on, like fire, joy, and I know what I'm doing, or off? If I'm in between, I have to choose. Is this a low on or low off? But it has to be on or off. And when you've become very good at identifying I'm on or I'm off, you remove a lot of off and you create a lot of on. And then obviously, because you're training your brain so much of detecting the off, you might even feel it more than most people, because I don't numb it down. I don't numb it down in alcohol. I don't numb it down in TV and binge watching. I don't numb it down in doing all these things when I feel off. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling off. Why? And what can I do to make myself feel back on again? So I do feel the off, probably stronger than most people. So I feel depressed, and I think depressed is a good thing. It's like, it's depressed. You like the pressure that makes you feel on. But then it's how do you take action to feel pressed again in your, like pressing your on button. So it has become a very conscious process in the last 2 years.
So I absolutely love that, because I chose to wake up at a certain point, and what they would call woke, and enjoy things. For instance, I had a baby boy about 2 months ago, a little more than 2 months.
Congrats.
And he's super cute, super loving, really sweet. And right when he came out, I helped deliver him. It was really awesome. And so to go back a little bit, I knew the day that he was conceived, because I was like, "You're pregnant?" She's like, "No, I'm not," for 3 weeks. And I was like, and then after, she's like, "How'd you know?" And I'm like, "I saw a spirit go in you," like crazy stuff, right? Wow. And so he comes out, and I'm like changing his diapers, and he's taking big poos all over the place, right? And like there's a joy there. Like there's a joy not only in me, but for him. And people, around me were looking at me a little bit like, "Hold on a second, like why are you enjoying like changing poo diapers so much?" And
why not?
like yeah, exactly. It's interesting how I have the power to change my mind to create the result I want. Most people's beliefs are, from my perspective, is I let my emotions dictate my life.
Yeah.
And they live in their emotions instead of live with themselves. Because there's a barrier. They're too, from what I've seen or experienced, they're too scared. Because what if I had the control to actually live how I wanted to, and like love and serve and be there? It's incredible to be able to see that whatever I get to do, because there's nothing I have to do in life. Like I don't have to. I don't have to wake up. You really have to die, but I'm never going to die. Like there's a physical, but spiritual. It's I'm rocking for a long time. It's interesting to be able to see how, if people spend time I believe everybody has this. Every human has this ability, but we choose what you said, like to drink alcohol. Like I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I'm present. I don't need that stuff to feel. I can choose to feel how I want to feel, and 99.99999% of the time, I feel in love with life.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And you know, when you were sharing, it reminded me of one core activity I lead, and I'm looking forward to doing it again in-person event because that's way more powerful. We teach what we call the art of receiving. So to link back to what we were sharing earlier and to what you're saying right now, is I think like as much as the on-off to tailor your life to look more like what you really want to experience, it's also conscious choice in the present moment to choose the emotion you're feeling. You could feel annoyed at changing the kid's diaper, or you can just feel like, what a blessing that I have the opportunity to do this. So you choose to activate this emotion. Now, in this feeling this love, when we do this art of receiving, where it's a series of activity where we have put people in the circle, we help them experience the love of the whole group. And I would say there are two parts I want to share here. One is we do an activity called I Am Amazing. So during 5 minutes, you're in the center of a circle of 3-4 people, and you have to shout. And when I say shout, I put hard rock music to make sure that you project your voice and you really own it. And 5 minutes is very long to explain to people why you're amazing. Because after 2 minutes of saying, I am amazing because I'm a human, because I'm alive, because I am loved, you have to say real stories so that we feel you. You start to say, I'm amazing because when my brother was sick, I drove for 6 hours. And you start sharing these stories and you own your amazingness. And then you have all the people looking at you in awe, in admiration. And I know when we push these activities, people start crying. And there's a reason, because I've experienced it myself. The reason I cry doing these activities is because all of a sudden I feel an overwhelming feeling of love, of feeling loved. And I'm crying because I'm telling to myself, why I'm not allowing this feeling in my everyday life? Why am I depriving myself from experiencing that every single day of my life? What am I protecting myself against when I drop on my protection, this is what I receive? And then you cry because you realize it's available all the time. And you receive compliments, you receive, life is giving you all these blessings. And most of the time you're just pushing them away because you're like afraid. And that to link back to everything we shared, you're afraid that if you receive them, you're weak. You're afraid that if you that you have to control, you have to have a success to allow yourself to feel excited. No, feel excited now. And once you get the success, celebrate even more, but celebrate the whole journey towards that success. And it's a choice of constantly choosing what emotion do you want to experience. And it's a practice.
So I find that most people don't choose that. 90% of people, 95% of people.
I have to be honest, I was never told that I had the choice.
I got one for you. So I'm sitting in front of a group of teachers. I'm doing a training, emotional belief intelligence training. And one teacher in the front row, I say, our kids have the choice. She goes, no, they don't. And I looked at her, I go, do they not have the choice, or do they not know that they have the choice? She looked at me and she's like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. She came up to me after and she goes, if I would have had this, it was a three-day experience training 30 years ago, I would have never gone to therapy because I actually figured it out today to be able to how to live my life and how to choose. But what's crazy is there's so many people that go through a rat race because nobody actually shows them what's possible. So I love that you get them surrounded with people that are like-minded, that have the same heart, that want to grow, that want to love, that want to connect. and help them see what their possibilities and potential are. That's amazing.